Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. My name is Serena, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm an intimacy and relationship coach. And today I want to bring you up a topic that has been really alive and moving in my field with my clients and in my own personal experience in the last few days. So before we start, I want to express two little disclaimers. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a lot about men, women, and how, generally speaking, certain behaviors are more related to women and certain behaviors are more related to men. Now, this part is, first of all, because I mostly work with heterosexual couples. And second is because our brains work in different ways. Our biology actually guide different behaviors. And because of that, there are most of the times these little frictions or misunderstanding between men and women because of these biology differences. And obviously, as human beings, we have the habit of looking at any experience with our own filters. This is the reality that I see, and it's difficult to see any other than what I see. If I try to tell you to look at the world as if you were a dog, it would be probably very difficult because, first of all, you have no idea how a dog look at the world, and second of all, even if you did, it's not your own direct experience, and so it can be very challenging to try to picture or imagine what it would be like in the other position. So we're going to be talking a lot about men and women, but these can be applied to pretty much anybody because we all have masculine and feminine energy, and a lot of the times these behavior or traits are more connected to the person that is more connected to either one energy or the other, which has nothing to do with the gender. Now, in terms of biology, yes, we have hormones that dictate certain behaviors in our brain, and so we do have some generality that happens in men and women. Some men more than others, some women more than others, but anyway, you get my point, I hope. And the second disclaimer is anytime that I'm using the word overreacting, exaggerating, I don't actually mean it. You can understand me better in a second, but for the sake of you understanding this video, you need to try and put yourself in the shoes of the other person. And so when you try and put yourself in the shoes of the person that is receiving a certain reaction, it might seem like one or the other person is overreacting, exaggerating, or there is something like really big happening out of something really small. So this is all about perception, okay? So I want you to keep in mind perception is the key. And for the second disclaimer, you're actually gonna understand it as we go. But for now, I just wanna say anytime that I'm gonna be using the words overreacting or exaggerating or making a big deal out of nothing, I don't actually mean that. And you will understand what I mean in a second. So this video is all gonna be about what to do when your partner is making a huge deal out of something small. So what happens if I propose something, I do something, I say something, and my partner seems to make a huge deal out of it? I can tell that they're triggered. I can tell that there is like emotions bubbling up in them. I can tell that there is definitely like some reaction that I don't understand and that shouldn't be there, right? So I'm sensing that something is off. What to do? They might make even, we talked about this in the previous video, and it's really a practice of building up curiosity. And this is where it gets really difficult, making sure that the other person's reaction doesn't activate me as well. I can get triggered and there might be something touched in me, but if I sense that the response of the other person is off and I really care about this person and I want to create connection instead of disconnection, the key is curiosity. And be like, hey, I sense that this reaction that you're having is a little bit intense for what I brought up, and I would love to know what is underneath it. And now the other person might be very aware or really not aware at all of what's going on. So here is where personal work is so important, because when you do your own personal work and you get to know yourself so deep and so well, then it becomes easy to know, yeah, you're right. This reaction is really not about this thing that we're talking about. My reaction is based on the fact that what you just brought up triggered something in me that made me either remember something, that activated a belief, that activated a story, that activated something within me. And so when I'm aware of what is being activated, which takes a lot of self-awareness, then I can go to the point. Because when this happens, so partner A has sent something, like a message, a proposal, is do something, and the other person doesn't react or doesn't receive it in the way that was intended. So let's say partner A is trying to create more connection and goes to partner B and hugs it. And partner B feels like off, and maybe it pushes the other person away. And maybe there is like a commentary or something else. We agree that everybody should be responsible of their emotions and should be responsible on how they bring up stuff. And the reality is that for most of the people, it's not really the case. Or there can still be moments, even the most aware person, even the most conscious person, and the person that does a lot of work on themselves, there could be that moment or that trigger or whatever planetary alignment that makes them go off with something very small. And so taking this example, partner A will go to partner B and say, hey, I've noticed that I came close to you because I wanted to connect, because I wanted to feel you, because I wanted to create a beautiful moment with you. And I felt that you might need something else. And I would love to know what that need is, so that I can either give you space if you need space. If you want to talk about something, I can hold space for you and we can talk. So this is the way to start creating more conscious relationships. And this would happen to me many years ago, where maybe I would go to my partner and try to hug them in a moment in which they were into something, focusing, whatever, and they would push me away. And I would get like into my rejection wound and get all offended, and then I would be offended, they would be like into another space, and then the disconnection is created. And so with that disconnection, if the person holds on to that rejection, then it just keeps growing and growing. And next time the partner tried to go and hug, this other person might pull away because of the old rejection, right? And these are obviously like very childish behaviors that we're trying to eradicate. But let's be honest, we're all very wounded, we're all very traumatized. We never got like educated on how to create healthier relationships and how to create these dynamics that are healthier. And so it's important that we understand how these dynamics work and what we can do instead to start building the practice of creating that. Most of the times, the person that makes a big deal out of something is generally the woman. Because our emotions are so strong, sometimes it's hard to control them. And this is not an excuse, it's not absolutely not a justification. I think that every single human being should work on themselves enough to have control of their emotions. But still, as partners, we can help that process. Because in the end, when I help my partner get through what it seems like to be a moved situation, I create safety. I create an environment where they trust me. And that can only bring people together. And obviously I need to respect myself, and I need to also feel into myself. Do I have the space? Do I not have the space? Am I in the middle of something? It's important to also listen to ourselves, but that's not really the point here. Like, it's a big topic. So generally speaking, when a woman or when a person makes a huge deal out of something very small. It can be like a message that you send that it's very beautiful and the other person reacts like cold and distant. And then with curiosity, we can dive into why that reaction, right? And most of the times has absolutely nothing to do with the fact itself. Most of the times it is an unmet need, an unmet desire that is lying underneath the surface. And that little fact, that little thing you said, that little thing you did, it's only the trigger that activates whatever story, belief, or wound, unmet desire, or need that is under the surface. So, again, the cure here is curiosity. So, knowing this information, what you can do is be curious about the experience of the other person, what is really happening in their world. Because when you do that, you create safety, you create interest. It's not only about inquiring and being curiosity to understand the situation, it is showing, it is saying, whatever you're feeling matters to me. And when you say this with your actions, with that curiosity, with your questions, it creates emotional safety. It creates an environment where the other person can open up and share what is really alive and present for them. And emotional safety is the base of every successful and healthy relationship. So, with that said, I hope that this video helped you. If you haven't tried this dynamic before, if you have any commentary, any experience that happened to you that you want me to comment on, leave it here below. I hope that this brings some light into your dynamics, and I will see you next time.